Lately, I've noticed that every time you look up how to learn something, it's always tied to learn it faster or master it in record time. And honestly, I think that mindset is doing a disservice to the actual process of learning. Trying to rush your way through learning skips over a ton of essential steps. You might end up knowing something, sure, but the quality of that knowledge, it might not be great. I've had my fair share of struggles with this topic, balancing my medical studies, shifting into art, and a lot of other things that were kind of a lot. I often felt overwhelmed, constantly trying to find shortcuts or just ways to manage everything. That period taught me a lot about the time and effort it really takes to achieve meaningful goals, and I had to make many mistakes and start over more than once, just to realize that things rarely go according to plan. Now, before I go further, let me clarify. I'm not saying you shouldn't aim to improve your workflow, refine your learning methods, or be more efficient. Not at all. What I'm questioning here is this obsession with speed, especially when it's treated as the right way to doing things. Something we see very often here on YouTube. You know, the typical, I tried this or that for 6 months, but it wasn't until I tried a new method that things took off. Disregarding the potential help from those first 6 months and putting all the emphasis on the idea that because it took a long time, you must have been doing something wrong. So suddenly those clickbaity titles become very enticing. Learn Spanish in 3 months, master Japanese in 6, get ripped in 30 days, or learn how to draw in 90 days. I feel like all of this is just hurting more than helping. And it's not just YouTube, it's everywhere. Every platform is selling this fantasy of instant mastery. And I get it, the appeal is obvious. People want to skip the struggle, they want results now. But the truth is, and man, I hate to start a phrase with that, like I'm going to say something super important, and it's not even a harsh truth, it's just reality. The things that take longer to achieve are often the most rewarding. So, if something could be mastered in seconds by anyone, would it really be valuable? Would you even care? I'm gonna guess probably not. Or at least it will lack the long-lasting effect or impact that certain achievements have. On a personal note, I also love being challenged and feeling that sense of satisfaction after making progress. So if things didn't take much effort, they probably wouldn't feel as interesting. Of course, not everything needs to take forever or be extremely difficult, but hopefully you get my idea. So when I see this epidemic of learn faster, I get this weird feeling, almost like desperation is driving it. But why do I believe that learning should take time? And sure, because some processes require time, period. No matter how much you want to rush, your brain still needs space to process, absorb, and internalize new information. Take languages, for instance. This is something that I'm really passionate about, and you'll see advice like, speak as fast as you can to sound more native. And I'm like, what the hell? Just because natives speak at a fast pace doesn't mean you should. Speaking fast doesn't equal fluency. When I was learning French, I remember watching a debate between Chomsky and Michel Foucault. Foucault spoke slowly, clearly, with beautiful structured ideas. I wasn't even fluent yet, but I could understand him, not because the ideas were simple, but because he took his time. Meanwhile, when people rush to sound fluent, the result is often unintelligible speech. The same goes for Japanese, my current love and hate relationship. I've seen people speeding up their sentences to sound natural, but it just leads to mistakes and confusion. Slow, thoughtful communication, building sentences carefully, actually gets you further. This doesn't just apply to language. To me, it applies to everything. When I was a teenager learning how to play guitar, I wanted to nail fast solos like the ones you see in metal and post-hardcore, but I remember trying to go too fast too soon, and I just ended up tripping over my fingers. It wasn't until I slowed down that I really learned the movements and built muscle memory that I gradually gained speed and precision. So, I think a big chunk of what is learning is actually consolidating information. Whether it's a mechanical skill or a deep understanding, at the end, your brain needs time to assimilate things. And here's another thing. I found the more mistakes I make, the faster I actually learn. But a lot of people are scared of making mistakes. And I feel there are a lot of reasons for that. Leaving aside the fact that nowadays people crave instant gratification and many can't even contemplate the idea of taking the time to build something because they want it now. So why not just use someone else's solution instead of exploring and failing on their own? After all, that would only slow the process down, right? And sure, it feels safer to follow someone else's journey, but every person's path is different. You definitely think differently, and you also learn differently than others. And what works for someone else might not work for you. And yes, there are plenty of validated, well-tested methods out there, and for sure, the experience of other people is super valuable. I'm not trying to disregard that, but my point is, there's also real value in figuring things out for yourself, in failing and building your own solutions. Once again, and I think I need to be very clear, I'm not saying you should ignore proven methods or reject tested advice. Not at all. But you need to be critical and not just aim to get to the finish line as quickly as possible. You know what? Let's talk about this finish line concept. The older I get, the more I realize that it's not about the end goal. Sounds cliche, I know. And even if I'm saying it right now, for a lot of people, it'll take experience to truly understand this. The experience of moving towards something. Yes, you can graduate, celebrate for a few days, and then what? Life just keeps going. If you spend 6 years grinding for a degree and you've done nothing but obsess over the piece of paper at the end, you might miss out on the actual experience of learning, growing, and being present. And now that I think about it, so many moments of my life now feel like a dream, like they never happened. I was so laser focused on trying to achieve something that I feel I left behind so much more that could have made my life more enjoyable during those periods of hard grinding. And grinding is necessary. There's no real progress without it. But there's no need to compromise your health or social relationships and all the activities that actually make your life easier and more fulfilling. Probably what's worse is that for certain things, you can grind in an unhealthy way toward the goal, only to realize that there might not be even a final goal. For things like drawing, learning languages, fitness, and let's be honest, pretty much everything, if you want to remain competent, there's no finish line. These are lifelong journeys. When I was a kid, I dreamed of working in video games. Now I do, but that end goal I once had, it's not an end, it's just a point along the way. And that's fine. Because now I understand it's a lifelong process. Some of you might hear this and think it sounds catastrophic. Like, wait, are you telling me that after 12 years of drawing every day, you're still not happy with your progress? Yeah. I mean, that's kind of another problem, but that's not a bad thing though, because that's what keeps me alive. And again, it's fine. My life can't just be about some final destination and then nothing. Same thing with learning languages. It's not something you do in 6 months. It's something you live with. It's something that is kind of like evolving, that it grows with you and you refine for years. And something to really pay attention is that your level of effort may shift over time, but you don't suddenly arrive, you just keep going. Before continuing, as I was saying these things, I realized I don't want to discourage people from trying just because it takes a long time. I just want people to have the right expectations. There's also something kind of obvious but very interesting that happens when you take too many shortcuts, and it's that you end up missing a lot of stuff. Sounds very logical, I know, but you get to a point where you realize there's a reason why the basics are the foundation of something. In the past few years of my art journey, I've been baffled by how many times I've had to go back and reinforce the things I skipped, polishing my fundamentals over and over. But to be fair, I think that's normal. Even if you are taking your time and reviewing things, having gaps in your knowledge is just part of the process. What's not so normal though is how quickly people often blame the audience. Okay, that was a massive tangent. I'm specifically talking about how easy it is to get misled by social media influencers and how people are quick to put all the blame on the viewer. It's easy to say, well, you've got to be really dumb to believe exaggerated claims like learn Japanese in 2 months or stay on the perfect diet forever. But I don't think that's fair. There's a level of personal responsibility. You do need to think critically and question what you are being told. But at the same time, look at the environment we are living in. We are surrounded by social media algorithms and hyper-aggressive marketing machines designed to manipulate you into buying stuff. These platforms are built to sell you a dream, and they are really good at it. They push easy success and claims that start to warp your expectations, even if you are trying to stay conscious of it. So no, it's not entirely our fault. The system indeed is set up to make us fall for it. I'm often surprised of how much these platforms are basically just giant advertisements for something. I mean, it's fine, but I can't help feeling that this whole niche of simplifying knowledge and getting fast results is growing for the wrong reasons. It's not really trying to help you, it's just trying to make more money. And yeah, that really bothers me. And that's where today's sponsor comes in. With NordVPN, just kidding. There's no sponsor, all right? No, I'm not trying to sell you anything, all right? Anyway, like I said, it's totally fine to build a business here on YouTube. Just don't sell your integrity to get a brand deal or push some useless product no one actually needs. Finally, I don't have the answers to fix all of this, and I definitely don't think the solution is to just isolate yourself from social media or cut off from the world. That's not realistic. And also, I don't necessarily think that you need to always go for a challenge or everything needs to feel impossible. I actually think that consistency over time probably is the most important thing, but that's a topic for another video. But maybe the first step is just being more critical, taking a moment to actually think about your choices before jumping into the next trending method or a shortcut. Maybe it's about learning to trust yourself or your own process a little more and just, of course, how can I forget it, making more mistakes. Actually giving yourself permission to fail and not seeing it as a bad thing or something negative. Because, as I said, every failure is a step forward if you are willing to learn from it. That's how you get closer to where you really want to be. And maybe, just maybe, the real shift comes when you stop obsessing over some big final goal and start focusing on what you do day by day so you can build something meaningful over time. At the end of the day, it's up to each person. If you want, you can keep chasing these hollow promises and fast results, or you can choose to actually enjoy the journey and even live a happier life while getting to wherever it is you want to go. Alright guys, before you actually go, I just want to say thank you. This channel now has over 1,000 subscribers and I'm really, truly happy. I really wish I could make more videos, but for now, I'll do my best to occasionally create content that I feel is useful in some way. By the way, I also really appreciate all your comments and suggestions and even the corrections to my English. Seriously, thank you so much. So, yep, thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.